Hey guys, it's Niclas here from upgradetolife.com and welcome to this amazing video today. So you can see again, I have yet another amazing member from the Upgrade to Life program. It's Yasmeen. In just a second, she's going to introduce herself to you. And we're going to talk about a couple of interesting insights that also Yasmeen gained in her manifesting journey, specifically about manifesting business success, manifesting more financial success. She has a huge success story that she's also going to share. But we don't only want to talk about the external successes, we also want to, talk about the internal shifts that she went through. So with that, Yasmeen, I would just, give the word to you, and maybe you can just briefly introduce yourself to the audience so that they know who they're listening to right now.
Alrighty. Hi, my name is Yasmeen and I live in Boston in the United States. And I found Niclas in the summer of 2021. I actually ended up doing coaching with him. And my biggest goal was to manifest a successful business. And my business is as a financial advisor. So I think when we find manifesting, we try to get over our limiting beliefs. And then on top of it, I was, trying to help people get over their limiting beliefs about money. And it was probably one of the hardest things I had to do. In terms of business ideas, because not a lot of people were comfortable talking about money. And I tried everything in the 3D for like 7 months to get this business going. And I kind of turned to manifesting as my last hope. And I told myself, I'm going to get this. And I worked with Niclas on my business. And many times I, had coaching calls with him, and he knows this, where I was like, nothing's working. And then recently I actually manifested my first $1 million deal in the most effortless way that I have ever manifested a deal before. And I think that's the most exciting part about the story.
Yeah, amazing. That's really, really great. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for already bringing up that success. I thought about maybe we're going to, tease the people a little bit and then wait until the end, but now you dropped it, but that's fine. And I think there is one, specific thing about this success story of yours regarding this $1 million deal. And you posted it in our private group. I remember that when you explained how this success happened, right? And maybe we can use this as the first topic right now to help people and show them that it's definitely about the internal shift, not chasing the external things, not focusing on massive actions. Because if I remember our first conversation when you enrolled in the program, if I remember this correctly, and you were trying to do a lot of things externally, right, to get results, trying this technique, trying this method, and doing outreaches and all of that stuff, until you learned that it's more about where you stand within and how you see yourself as a business owner. So maybe we can just go into that success story of yours now that you brought it up, that $1 million deal. So maybe you can just share with the audience, how did you do it? What did you focus on? Why was it so effortlessly in that case compared to the other successes or the other approaches that you tried before the program?
Okay. So the very short version of this, at some point, I think I'm going to also share a little bit of my circumstances and how rough they were, just so that people understand circumstances really don't matter. But before I met you and started doing coaching with you, in this business, it's all about, calling 100 people a day and hoping to God that you're gonna, play the numbers game correctly. And maybe out of 100 people, one person will say yes and agree to go on a call with you and become your client. And that's a very, very exhausting thing, very exhausting. And so the thing is, like, in this world, the way that we're taught to do business, or I was always a very athletic person. I was always an A student until I did engineering. But anyways, so, it's always like, go get it, go get it, go get it. It's always that we are trained to focus on doing things physically and really exhausting ourselves. And so, when I considered maybe manifesting a business, I felt a lot of guilt. I don't know if anybody else has felt this, but if anybody else has, like, you're not alone. I felt so much guilt because we're taught that only people who work extremely hard deserve success, and that you're going to have to suffer for years before you make your big break. And that's the story we're told. So the hardest thing that I had to do is let go of that story and let go of the guilt that I felt for wanting to even entertain the possibility that I could manifest a business without working so hard, right? And a lot of people didn't talk about business, but that's what I loved about working with you, is that you really did help me apply a lot of manifestation concepts to business, because most stuff is about SP. And it's usually romantic, which isn't a bad thing. Like, you still have specific people in business, your clients, your team, you want them to do well. But so I had to shift out of that mindset. And for me, the biggest thing was not taking 3D so seriously. And when I say not taking 3D so seriously, I mean, my circumstances sucked. Last summer, after I started working with you, I started getting some deals and I started getting some people to join my business on my team, recruits. And then in November, there was this competition that we had in my business for who could make the most like sales. And I psyched myself out and I started paying attention to the numbers, because my name was on a billboard that everybody could see. Okay. So I was so scared. I ended up doing horribly. This is how bad my circumstances were. Since November until this deal that I made 0 sales. And every week I had this thing called accountability. So every week in the 3D, I had to text my mentors in my business and I had to tell them my numbers. And every week I showed them zeros for months. Yeah. I felt so humiliated. I felt so stupid. And the hardest thing in the world was to not freak out and absolutely chase like everything I could possibly chase in the 3D. Like, I literally thought that it was dumb to sit in my imagination. Like, there was all these voices in my head judging me. It was the hardest thing I had to do. But at some point I was like, chasing never worked for me. So at some point it kind of was like, the writing on the wall is that chasing things in the 3D, when you don't change inside, is just hopeless, no matter how hard you try. And I was so burnt out and tired that I had nothing else to do besides to, go into my imagination. That was the easiest thing. You know what I mean? But I had to exhaust myself because I was so anxious. And the funniest thing is I started being like, okay, I can't play this game of like cat and mouse with my 3D reality and let my 3D reality tell me who I am. So I had to build discipline for weeks and really just go into my imagination and really breathe whenever I felt like anxiety or the need to chase, and really become more observant. I was rewatching your videos. I was going into my imagination as much as I could. If I was on the go, I'd like say an affirmation and just like breathe. But at some point I really remember this because I also took a screenshot. I was laying on my bed and I was just kind of looking at my ceiling, and I was just in my head, not letting that victim narrative take over again. Like, it was almost a little angry. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I'm not freaking out. This isn't happening. And I got a text, literally just got this random text from somebody who was like, I want $1 million, policy. So I was like, okay.
All right. Why not?
Like, you know what I mean? And, the funniest thing is I had the biggest belief that nobody was going to just come to me, because everybody in my reality had already said no. Everybody said no. There was no people that I knew that I hadn't asked. Yeah. And like, there was literally nothing I could think about doing physically. So I just went into my head and I started affirming I sell, an investment every day, and I have a thriving team. You know what I mean? And I got that message. And the funniest thing that I think is the biggest takeaway is that this is my most profitable deal. And this is a deal that I didn't chase. It came to me. Yeah. And it just kind of really opened my eyes. And I've just been working on replicating that over and over again and making that a habit of mine and a lifestyle, not just a one-time success. And then I go back to square one and back to my old way of thinking. But I want that to be like a takeaway for people, because in business, we're always taught, be a go-getter, work really hard. And the truth is, it might be hard in the sense that you need to have mental discipline to not believe your 3D reality if it's not showing you what you want. That might be the hard part, and that's okay. But your most profitable deals don't have to be the ones that you chase. They can literally come to. Yeah.
Totally agree with that. In your whole explanation, there were many different like wise revelations when it comes to business success and financial money success also in general. One of them I noted down, which is, taking massive action and this whole culture of, like you just explained it, like hustle hard, work hard, exhaust yourself. And only when you do that, then you deserve the success, right?
Yes.
And I think that this is a point that a lot of people are dealing with, why I think this conversation is so valuable. And this also obviously happened to me, right? At certain beginning stages of my business, I thought if I don't work from after standing up until I go to bed and I work this whole time, success can't come to me, right? I have to put in all the work, all this effort. And I don't want to say that, of course, I got some results, but it was kind of frustrating to see that then the more I worked, results just stayed the same, or sometimes they even decreased. And I was like, wait a second, I'm working so hard. I'm literally, getting burnouts here. What is going on? And then I realized, wait a second. Neville once said, and this is also true, obviously, for you, Neville said, success is not gained by imitating the actions of others. So if you see someone and this person is working really hard and you equate this with success, and then you work really hard and you say, now I'm working really hard, I will also be that successful. That is not how success is gained, but success is gained by doing the right inner actions, the right inner talking, the right inner movement, and being internally already a successful person, right? Being in the confidence and in knowing that I am it. And I think that is exactly what happened to you in this scenario, is where you therefore stopped chasing it. You stopped putting in all the effort, all the work, and therefore like it came to you effortlessly, no chasing. I think that's a really nice metaphor to use here.
Right. And to add to that, it comes from within. So I think a big thing was that we tend to put success on a pedestal. It gives us our sense of self. And I've always been, again, like a very athletic person, a very driven, competitive person. So my entire identity was tied to success. And if I wasn't doing well in life, I felt like I was worthless, like there was no point in living, or I wouldn't allow myself to like go out with my friends because I'd be like, oh, I only deserve to, have fun if I work really hard and if I'm doing really well. And to whoever relates, my parents are immigrants. My dad was a war child. So the beliefs that I was raised with was that the only thing that makes you worthy in this life is hard work. And, while I love the valuable lessons that they taught me, and hard work doesn't have to be a bad thing, especially if you're like having a good workout and you can totally take pride in hard work. It's important to understand that success is not something outside of you. That was the hardest thing for me to understand, because we define success as when somebody gives you an A on your report card or a medal for winning a race or whatever. But the human being, like all of us as human beings, have something within us that allows us to be successful. Infinite intelligence, instinct, animals have it. Every living being, every piece of consciousness, like I know this is very like philosophical here, but every piece of consciousness has something inside of it that like drives it to success, whether it's survival for an animal. You know what I mean? Like animals do such cool things. They know how to like migrate from one corner of the earth to another, and they don't use a GPS. And I can barely get into downtown without a GPS. Like, that's so cool. So understanding like we're made of the same thing. Like there is something that is a lot smarter within us. And trust was not easy, but trusting that instead of like seeking, success outside of me was such a big mindset shift. So yeah, you don't need to chase success because it's not outside of you. You won't find it if you're chasing it. Yeah.
And also that's correct. And I also realized that chasing the success, right? Thinking that you need to do like millions of outreaches all day, like, oh my God, I need to do this, or doing this business strategy, doing this, doing that, is already, if you seek the success, it's already in and of itself an implication that is not here yet. But if you seek it and you do this and do that, then you are not it yet. So this is also the point that I came to, is first of all, I have to be a successful business owner. I have to be, enjoying my business, and then it works out. So this is obviously also the power of shifting states, which you're also, involved in. And a question that I wanted to ask you now that you had this amazing success. I mean, we have to point out that you manifested like $1 million deal. That doesn't happen around the corner for everyone every single day. So it's really amazing, I think. How has your relationship now changed? Now that you saw, oh, I manifested $1 million deal. How has your relationship changed to money, to manifesting, to business? Now that you saw, wow, this actually does work quite well, quite good.
So I think my relationship to money and business has changed because I have more faith in myself.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at money and business as, like I grew up poor. So instead of looking at money and business as something that's super hard, that's something that I can't achieve, something that's very out there and very foreign to me, I didn't feel like comfortable. You know what I mean? Like for me, I had 2 or 3 jobs on the side of school my whole life. So I wasn't comfortable having a business. I was used to having a job and a minimum wage job.
Yeah.
And so this was not part of my self-image. And all of it felt foreign. And it's starting to feel more comfortable for me. I'm starting to identify myself as like a businesswoman. It's the funniest thing because before this interview, you messaged me and you were like, maybe set a reminder for, this like
For the call.
interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the call. In my head, I was like, I'm a businesswoman. I remember every meeting at every time that I need to do, you know what I mean? In my head, and I was like, cool, okay. So
Perfect.
I just started having more like comments in my head now that I'm identifying more with being a successful businesswoman that makes a lot of money. Comments that actually align with that image. So I look at business as a lot of fun now.
Perfect.
It's like really cool. Yeah.
What was your thoughts like in the beginning, right? When we had this first initial call where we talked about, the program and how it can help you to shift these states and to become more successful. Now that you did invest in this program, would you say, even though maybe at this stage where you started the program, you had some thoughts like, should I really invest this money? Should I really pay for that? What would you say now afterwards, now that we have been working for quite a while together and you have access to my coaching and the program? Would you say it was a worthwhile investment? Would you say, what are your thoughts about that? That's basically my question.
Okay. So I actually love this story. So I found you by accident. I kind of find a lot of things by accident. And then we got on like that consultation call. And I remember before I found you, I tried coaching with so many other people. I tried a session here and a session there for this YouTuber and that YouTuber. I won't drop any names.
Yeah.
And everybody's a little bit different, right? So that's something to say too. In the law of assumption, everybody's a little bit different. Our personalities and perceptions are different. So the way people teach you is going to be different. And having a bunch of different coaches is not a good idea because you will one day be it's all mental diet. And one day it's all imagination and awareness. And it just keeps switching, right? So you're confusing yourself, which I was very good at doing. And, when I found you, I was like, okay, I want to do this program. And I remember something you said, you don't want somebody who's going to stay in a victim mentality. You wanted somebody who was accountable. I was like, cool. If I have somebody who's not going to, excuse my French, take any bullshit, then I will be held accountable. And it looks like this is like the coach for me. And I decided to make this investment because it was scary. I was like, if I'm going to make the investment, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to actually not let myself waste this investment. Yeah. So I was like, this is going to be the last coach that I ever spend my money on. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Spending my money on this. And I'm not going to go running to a million different coaches after this. This is my last time because I'm wasting money going from that person to that person to that hopelessly instead of finding one train of thought and sticking to it. And I think that a lot of people, may struggle with the same thing because we're always interested in the next different thing. Like our mind is very easily distracted. It's so easy to be like, oh, but I like what that YouTuber said, but what about that YouTuber? And to accept everybody's opinions and everybody's perceptions, no one's perception is wrong. It's your reality, but it's like, we always want to switch techniques instead of staying consistent because consistency can seem boring. Yeah. And it's like, no, you're supposed to be consistent. So one coaching style, one, set of lessons, from you, because you do things in a very straightforward, simple, and repeatable way. It doesn't ever get complicated, which is like the best thing. And I was like, nope, I'm committing and I don't regret it. I really don't. Because awesome. I have like lifetime access to all your videos and it's so worth it. Actually, like there's a video of yours that I have on replay. I was replaying it last night, no matter how many times I've watched it. Because whenever I'm like in an iffy state, I just go back to those and it like not just calms me down, but it reaffirms, okay, like the 3D doesn't matter. Focus on your internal reality. Okay. And it gets me back to, where I need to be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's first of all, I really appreciate that you like the program, and you're always welcome, of course, like I always say. Thanks for the feedback. You brought up this video, which I think is a game changer in and of itself. Like, to understand this principle, I called it like the life cycle that determines your fate. And in this video, I don't want to bring too much detail here because it takes too long, but it's basically about to not let the current circumstances, if this is in a relationship field, if this is in a money situation, business setting, if this is also in health, right, in these main areas, to not take cue from how things are right now and let your state get affected from, I see that, oh, I haven't got a deal this week, or I have a symptom on my body, or the relationship is right now not exactly as I want it to be, and take your cue from that and be like, oh, it's shitty, it's not working, I'm doing something wrong, it's hard to change. And that because you then are in that state, you just get more of that, right? And we can only break the cycle if we first, in a sense, don't look at what is, but we shift into the state that we want to be in, right? We make this our main focus, to be the desired version of us, to be in the state. And then there might be some old reflections, but we stay non-judgmental. We just observe it, and we'd be like, okay, that's things from the old state, things from the old identity that I lived in. And then over time, if you stay in that state, your life, your world has no choice but to reflect back a state that you have a life within you. That's its only purpose, or its only function, is to mirror back what you have alive within you. It can't, it's not a cause, right? It's an effect, and the cause is within you. And if people really get this, and then they apply it for business as well, it becomes easier, right? It becomes way easier, and you're not fighting against circumstances. So I'm glad that you watched this video on repeat. It's really powerful.
It's an amazing video. And another thing that's helpful is you make really great visuals. Like, I'm a very visual person. So when you actually drew out the cycle that, determines your, like, how people tend to recreate their circumstances versus what you should be doing, like, that's just so helpful, because it puts everything into a picture. And then you can, for me, I'm very visual. So if I'm like falling into the same pattern, I see what step I'm on, and I can see where I am in that cycle, in that physical circle. And I'm like, okay, I'm here. I need to move.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I personally think. But yeah.
What is I think you would like to share this, hopefully. What is your favorite way of like manifesting right now? I'm sure you agree with me that there are many different techniques. You said this by yourself in the beginning of the call. There are all of these techniques, all of these videos. But in the end, the underlying thing that should happen is that we identify with the version of us that already has the goal, or that already is our desired version of us. And if this happens via, imagining an unseen, via hearing a congratulation, via using the I remember when technique, that doesn't matter, because the underlying process is still the same, is that we bring the desired state and bring it in the here and now, and we start to embody it. And just out of curiosity, what's your favorite way right now, if you would like to share it with the audience?
Definitely. I think one thing that I will say is that there's one thing that I tend to do, but then throughout the day, there's me trying to keep that awareness, because there's no point in undoing the work that I've done during the time when I take, a seat and do the technique. So I try in the morning. If I have time in the afternoon or the evening, I'll also do it. So if I can do it 2 to 3 times a day, that's great. Sometimes I can only do it once, So in the morning, I have my coffee and I watch a video of yours, and it gets me in the right mindset. And then I sit and I close my eyes and I have imaginal scenes, and I'll put on like a timer, because I find that for me, I can be very scatterbrained and like not focused. Like, my mind will go to the most random places. It's actually kind of funny. So I'll like put a timer on for 5 minutes, and I'll be like, okay, this is the desire I have. Let me imagine this scene just for 5 minutes, like, see if I can feel that it's happening right now for 5 minutes. And it really helps me to have a timer, because if I don't have a timer, then I might imagine a scene once and then immediately get distracted. So if I know I have a timer, that's just how my mind works. You know what I mean? It's like, if you are doing a workout, you want a timer, because if you don't do a timer, you can get lazy.
Yeah.
That's just, you know what I mean? So I do that. And when I'm imagining the scene, certain scenes, I'll imagine a text message if I can't hear their voice. You know what I mean? Like, reading the things that I want to be reading because I'm more visual. Sometimes I'm actually better with the voice than the visuals. Like it really just depends on the desire and the scene, and I just play it by ear. But the most important thing is that when I am imagining, I remember that my internal reality is the real reality. So I react to my own imaginal acts and I say, oh my God, this is real. This is really happening right now, you know?
Yeah.
Because I want to feel it. It's kind of like in this 3D reality, when somebody tells you no, you take it as real, but this 3D reality isn't real. It's just a shadow. So I try to practice, instead of taking what people say out here as real, taking what people say in here as real, right? And that's just practice. And then throughout my day, I try to think from that end. Just if I think about the topic and I think about it in the old negative way, I just stop myself and I become aware of like who I'm being in that moment, who I think I am. And I just do my best throughout the day. Some days are great and I do great and I don't think about the topic at all. And some days I think about the topic from the old lens and I have to keep pulling myself out. And so every single day is different. But I just try to be mindful because I don't want to undo the work of the imaginal act. Like, you know, if you're thinking from the end for 5 minutes, but then for the rest of the day, you're reacting to, you know, what you don't want to be reacting to, that's counterproductive.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Absolutely perfectly described. You just, in between those lines, like where you just explained it, you just said the word mindful, right? You're mindful of how you react. You're mindful of the state that you're in and the lens that you view the world from. Am I viewing the world from the lens of I'm a successful business owner, money is flowing, business is easy? Like, am I already in the successful business owner state, or am I in a state of struggling and all of that stuff? But the mindfulness aspect, I want to ask you that because I think many people are not mindful. They are not really present and aware. They just get sucked into thoughts and then this circumstance and they get distracted, like you said. How has week 1 of the program, if you remember in there, I teach a lot of awareness, mindfulness, being present and being, you know, grounded and all of that. How has this helped you? Yeah, when you think about your manifesting journey, when you think about your business.
Okay, that actually helped me get out of my old patterns in a way where, like I said, we tend to tie our self-worth to our successes. So when I wasn't doing well in business since November, I was really, really hating myself. Like I felt so depressed. And then I started to remember the lessons that you taught us about our real identity and who we really are. And I kind of got away from all these labels, like my name and the physical things in my life, and you know, kind of went into the meditation that you taught us, the I am meditation, and it helped me to kind of break out of, you know, being attached to all those negative labels that I was putting myself through, because it can be really hard to convince who you are as a human being, you know, despite all of your failures and maybe you think you've done something bad. It can be super hard to convince yourself that you're actually doing well. But if you kind of learn like who you really are underneath all the flesh and everything, you can actually detach yourself from a lot of the things that you've considered mistakes. You can actually feel a sense of love for just existence and who you are. And you start to take things less seriously. You're like, I'm okay. Like, I am not my mistakes. I am not my failures. I can learn the lessons, but I'm also not the lessons. I'm the awareness behind it. And the thing is, like, some weeks I was not disciplined with being mindful, and other weeks I was. And some people get really good at this law of assumption game very quickly, and other people don't. I didn't like take very little time. I took almost a year, right? Because I signed up for you last year in June, so it's literally been a year, 1 year anniversary. But like of like
exactly, it was 2021 June. I also noted this down. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So for me, it took a whole year because I would listen to your teachings, but I wasn't a doer. I was just listening and I didn't apply it. And, you know, it just takes practice. So I just really want people to understand, like, please show up for yourself, love yourself enough to show up for yourself, to do the work, to be patient, because I was very reactive. I was raised to be extremely reactive. Like, you know, I understand for some people it's easier to have faith in themselves and then with all the stuff that I manifested unconsciously throughout my life, I had zero faith in myself. I just had this identity that I was going to fail no matter what I did, that I was going to screw up. So it's just like practice of like being mindful. And then when you see that you can succeed, you're like, okay, I have more faith in myself. I have more faith in the process. And then you just start to become more mindful because it becomes more satisfying and more easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect explanation. Because now you started to give some tips, right? You said the most important tip, first of all, right, is to be mindful, be aware, disidentify, like realize that you are not your thoughts. They are coming and going. Like I teach in the program, like start to see it as a cloud. Same with your emotions, same with states, right? You are not the state and you're also not the circumstance, right? You are awareness, therefore, you determine where you place your awareness on. Do you place it on failure and unsuccess and all of that stuff? And you basically determine what you fill your awareness with, right? This is what Neville meant with pruning the vine. If you see your life as a garden, which reflects back what you have alive within you, do you entertain shit and negativity and bullshit and negative stuff and suffering and all of that, then sure, life won't be that much pleasure. Or do you feed yourself internally with success, with amazing results, with having achieved your goals so that life can reflect this? So that was a really great tip, right? You said, stay mindful, be aware. Maybe to conclude our interview, do you have other tips spontaneously that come to your mind when you would give, the version of Yasmeen 2 years ago or 1 year ago? What would you tell her when it comes to business, when it comes to also manifesting in general? Is there anything?
I think I would give her some tips, like it is really not worth it to react to your 3D, and it is not worth it to doubt yourself. And, an easy way to snap out of it is to, when you catch yourself thinking negatively, either take 3 deep breaths, because that literally rewires your nervous system. You're not becoming as reactive, or count to 5 really fast and snap your fingers. Like sometimes what I do when I'm entertaining a bad thought is I'm like, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, snap my fingers. And for some reason, when I do that, it's like, I just kind of distract myself. I get myself from like, oh, the bad thought to counting to 5. Like literally you just pull your awareness out in the most silly ways. And I tell myself, like, literally just have more faith in yourself. Don't beat yourself up and stop thinking that everything you do is wrong. That was a huge one. I thought everything I did is wrong. If my 3D didn't because people who get good at manifesting, when they share their stories, sometimes their stories are like, it manifested instantly. And then I would think, I'm doing something wrong. I suck. No one sucks. Like everybody was born with the exact same level of ability to manifest. Everybody. We're all part of the same consciousness. Yeah. Like no one is actually better than another. Maybe some person practiced mindfulness for a little bit longer. That's it. So, understanding like, I'm powerful. I'm not helpless. Like stop thinking that everything I do is wrong and stop seeking validation from the 3D. I seriously sought validation for the longest time. And that's what kept me in that cycle. Looked at the 3D. It didn't show up. Oops, I'm doing something wrong. And then that confirmed, right? Because if you think that you're a failure, you're going to think you're doing something wrong. So my old self-concept as a failure, oh, of course I'm doing something wrong. I'm a failure. Then I go search for another YouTube video, another technique, that vicious cycle. It's literally like, I would tell myself, breathe, count to 5, stop doubting yourself. It's okay if this doesn't work right away. Like maybe you have to just go back into imagination for a few more hours or a few more days or just a few more times. Don't think that you're failing if you don't see immediate results. It's just like working out. That was like a great analogy for me when I connected the dots. When you're working out, sometimes you don't see immediate results, but I love sports. And I know that if you keep working out every day, you're going to see the results. So, just think about your imaginary acts as like a mental workout. If you're like me and you like working out, some people don't like working out. That's fine. But for me, that worked. Those would be my advice to my past self.
Perfect. Yeah. Sounds amazing. I think these were the main topics, right, that we wanted to cover. I think we touched base on a lot of very interesting insights also from your journey and how you kind of like what you experienced at manifesting. Like that sometimes I have the impression that manifesting, there's like this illusion created that people think that this is some super magical stuff and you have to be perfect at it. And once you learn it, then you wake up in another dimension. And all of this fluff and hype and woo-woo, right? I try to just bypass that and be, also really direct and straight to the point in the program that you are a part of. Maybe the final question or the final thing that I would ask you is, when there's someone listening to this right now, and this person also has a business, or this person also doesn't need to be a business, maybe a financial goal, maybe any other goal, and this person is not sure, okay, right now I experience these circumstances, right? Right now I'm in an internal state. I experience these circumstances and I don't like them. I have the desire to experience new circumstances and my desired circumstances. And this person thinks about potentially also becoming part of the Upgrade to Life movement and joining our program. Would you say that the 45-minute consultation call is scary? Should everyone do it, or should only people that feel confident do it? Like, what would be your final advice for people on jumping on this call? Like, would you say it's easy? What was your impression after this call?
Honestly, the 45-minute consultation call is free, and everybody has 45 minutes. Like, I don't care how busy you are. Like, you'll find the time, because if you have the time to scroll through YouTube watching one manifesting video after another, you have time for a call. And I think it's worth it, because it's just like, take that leap. Just say, why not? The worst thing that could happen is, you go on the call and you decide to not move forward with it, or, like, that's totally fine. But take that leap if you want to go on a little bit of a deeper dive. And if you want, somebody to hold you accountable, or to at least explore what, working with you is like, or your teaching style. Like, if somebody's looking for a coach, it is worth taking a leap and at least seeing. A 45-minute consultation call that's free is not going to hurt anybody. Yeah. Like, you're not going to lose anything. So I think it's worth it. I would say do it. I think the reason I did it is because I needed to join a program that I could follow, that I was held accountable. It's kind of like in sports, like having a coach that tells you every day, you're going to run these laps, you're going to do this. Like, for me, that's helpful, because you have to take initiative if you want to change your life. You have to change your habits. And if you join a program, whether it's this program or another program, whatever, you're surrounding yourself with people who think the same. You want to change things up a little bit, have better influences, because if this 3D reality is putting a bunch of limiting beliefs in your face and in your mind and everything, it's good to have a community that, continually brings you into reminding yourself, okay, manifesting is real. This stuff works. Let me just be mindful. Let me break out of these limiting beliefs. Like, it's worth it. Just try it. Can't hurt.
Awesome. Perfect summary.